Hey everyone, I finished watching the next Wild Force episode, Secrets and Lies. I really like this episode. I think most of these videos start with me saying I really like the episode. Okay, whatever. Anyway, summary. Cole is asking around about his parents and that photo he has, and then Alyssa comes across him and she's like, oh hey, I have an idea, and so she takes him to the library, and she types some stuff into a computer and immediately finds something and prints it out, but they can't stay there to wait for the printer to start working. Interesting fact, I used to go to the library a lot and I would print stuff out and the printer would always like be broken or something. In fact, that's why I'm not going at the moment because it's almost always broken for some weird reason. Anyway, back to this thing. They have to go fight a new org. It's a traffic signal org. He shoots a laser at Cole that causes him to lose his memory. He and Alyssa are separated by a huge explosion, and then, let's see, the traffic signal org leaves, and the Rangers are trying to find Cole. Cole is off somewhere unconscious, and this farm family finds him, and they tell him, you can stay here until you regain your memory. And this family is really nice and really accommodating and does not really feel realistic in the least. It really, really feels like a fantasy TV show at this point, which it is, so whatever. Moving on. Alyssa goes to the library to pick up the paper she printed, and she's shocked by the new information she finds in it. She looks at it, and then we cut away from that, and then we see, let's see, the others searching for Cole. Danny and Max go to this farm, and they find him. That was easy. Not a whole lot of tension going on with what really should be the main plot of the episode. Cole loses his memory, and it's so weird. Like, I remember seeing this episode when I was little, and in my mind, like, before I got the DVD, I remembered this episode, and I seem to remember, Cole being on the farm being, like, the whole episode, but actually, it's a really minor part of the episode, like, they really didn't even need this. Also, it's weird there's never any resolution. The Rangers, are talking to Cole, and, let's see, Cole is doing some farm chores with the family's daughter, Claire. It looks like there's a relationship building there that goes nowhere. And anyway, let's see. The Rangers are debating whether or not they should bring Cole back to the Rangers because they read the article that Alyssa printed, and we see the photo that Cole's carrying around printed out like in good quality, and we see him there as a baby. We see his mother, we see his father, and then there's a third adult there, a man. They were scientists that were lost in some kind of accident in the jungle, and they don't. They're like, if we get Cole back and he regains his memory, he'll have to deal with this. Maybe he'd be happier living his days out on the farm. And eventually they decide to go to Cole, tell him the truth, tell him that he's a ranger, they're rangers, and he's like, I don't know who you are, but you seem trustworthy, I'll listen to you. So then he listens to them, and Alyssa is about to say something, and then they're attacked by Jindrax and the Signal Org, and the Rangers morph, and they keep telling Cole to get away and hide, and Cole is starting to regain his memory, and he's like, I know I shouldn't. I know kind of what's going on here, and I want to help. And he's determined to help. And then Taylor gives him his morpher. He morphs, and his memory returns. He helps them defeat the Signal Org. And then Toxica makes the Org grow. The Rangers call their Zords and defeat it. That's the end of that. And there's never any resolution for Cole and that farm family. I really feel like that whole thing could have just been cut. Like, they could have just had, like, the explosion happens, Cole is, like, washed away in the river, and then the Rangers just, like, find him. They didn't really need this whole amnesia plot because it doesn't really create much conflict. It doesn't go anywhere. There's no resolution. The farm family, I don't think ever show up again. Also, what was the deal with trying to set up a relationship with Cole and Claire? Unless it was just natural charisma they had with each other, or natural chemistry, whatever. I don't know. It's just such a weird thing because, like I said, it goes nowhere. So whatever. Meanwhile, Toxica leads Jindrax underground to convince him that Master Org isn't who he appears to be. Toxica's apparently found some kind of underground lab that Master Org uh lives in, or something? I don't really know what this is. They don't explain it. Maybe they could have cut out the amnesia plot and focused on Toxica finding this thing. Like maybe we have Toxica following Master Org around. She sees him go underground. She follows him and sees this weird lab, and there's a bunch of books, and she's like, "Huh, what's all this?" And she sees him like move his horn again. Maybe I don't know. Would have been more relevant to like the plot of the episode than the amnesia plot. Whatever. Moving on, let's see. Toxica goes over and opens up this book, and there's a pristine copy of that photo that Cole has. Toxica points to the third adult on the photo, and Gindrax yells, "That's Master Org!" And just then, Master Org comes in. Toxica blasts him, and it knocks off his headdress thing, and then we pan to the floor, and we see inside the headdress is this little motor that controls the third eye. And then the camera goes back to Master Org, and we see him without his headdress. No horn, no third eye. He's human. And Jindrak's like, "You were human after all," or something. Like, he still has those little weird vein root things on his cheeks. And he's still all white. He has his magic staff, he zaps them, so even if he is human, he's definitely not a normal, average human. Anyway, when he zaps Toxica and Jindrax with the staff, they get these weird new faces. Toxica looks a bit like Necronomica from an episode or two ago. Not that that really goes anywhere. And they lose their personalities and they're loyal to Master Org again. And it's... eh. Like, I like this episode. I like Master Org, but Jindrax and Toxica losing their personalities and becoming just kind of generic grunts is kind of lame to me. I don't know, maybe in retrospect it comes off worse because I know what's coming in the future, and we're going to have a lot of, like, just boring general grunt characters who don't have any personality, they're just totally boring, they're just, yes, boss, go blow stuff up. Anyway, the Rangers, let's see, they're with Cole, and they're taking him around this cemetery, and they find the headstones of his parents along with Cole's own headstone. And he's really sad at first, and there's a line I really like from him where he says, "I came all this way to find my parents, and all I have is these cold stones." And then the Rangers reassure him that, "Hey, there's a stone for you too, and you lived, so it's possible that they're out there too." And it reminds me a bit of Tanya's story from back in Zeo. Her parents were lost in the woods and found due to convenience, and then never brought up again for some reason. So anyway, the episode ends there, and one of the really weird things here is Merrick is completely absent, which is so weird after they spent how many freaking episodes introducing him. We went through the whole Zenaku arc. We went through this whole, like, redemption thing where he's no longer Zenaku, he's Merrick again, but he still doesn't know if he wants to join the Rangers. He uh, feels guilty about what he's done or whatever. Completely ignored here, and, like, I know why, because Japanese episode didn't have them at all, and they were translating them very close to the Gao Ranger plots and blah blah blah. But it feels like they could have had like some little mention of him or have him pop up once or twice, maybe at the beginning, just to remind us that, oh yeah, remember Merrick, he's important still. I don't know, it's just something that's always bugged me in Power Rangers when they have a sixth ranger or some kind of extra hero character aside from the main team who they give this like big arc to introduce, and then they're just gone and no one mentions them. It's always weird, it always annoys me. So anyway, we get some new clues into Cole's past and Master Org's past. Master Org is human, but like I said, he's not normal. Let's see. Oh, that headdress with the third eye with the motor. Let's see. I always really liked that moment when the headdress falls down, it zooms in, and we see the little motor running that makes the eye blink and look around. That was always such a cool moment to me. I don't know why I liked it so much, but that one image really stayed in my head. I really love that. Let's see. I don't care for Jindrax and Toxica's new forms. It's not really noticeable here that they lack personality, but it will become more of a thing later on. I'm always so grateful when they turn back to normal and they have their personalities back, because One of the really cool things and one of the really strong points of the early Saban era seasons, or well, all the Saban era seasons from Mighty Morphin to Wild Force, is the villains had a lot of personality and a lot of likability. They had interesting motives and goals and like their own code of morals sometimes, and it made them so interesting. And when we got to the Disney season, sometimes the villains are like that, but then there's also a ton of villains who are just complete dead blank slates and they do nothing for me. Neo Saban's the same way. There's some villains that are kind of okay, and then there's some that are just boring as garbage, and it's kind of the problem now in Dino Fury at the moment. I'm not really liking the villains. Like what's his name? Void Knight. I liked him at first. He was kind of an interesting character. He has an interesting backstory. We're like wondering, like, oh, what's his deal? What's going on with him? And now we kind of know what's going on with him. And his wife takes over, and she's kind of boring to me. Like, she's just kind of a typical villain, and I don't know. There doesn't really seem to be much to her. I really miss back when the villains were allowed to have like personalities and have moments that made them stand out as more than just the villains, that they were characters. Maybe that's just me, whatever. Moving on, let's see. There's the great mystery building up of Cole's parents and are they alive? Where could they be? Are they actually dead? Or who could they be? Are they hiding out there somewhere? Did they possibly lose their memory? Is that why they kept the amnesia plot to plant that seed that possibly his parents are alive, but they have amnesia and they don't even know like who they are or who Cole is? No, because I've watched the series before. I know that doesn't go anywhere. Uh, anyway, we're almost to the midway point of Wild Force. This is episode 18, I think. So only a few episodes away from the midpoint and halfway done with Wild Force. And there's some really cool episodes coming up. Some of my favorite episodes, like the next one. I can't wait to do the next one. It's not really my favorite, but it's one that I remember really well and I watched a lot for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, that's all for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.